Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, August 3rd, 2023, 5:45 a.m. here on the West Coast Pacific Time. This episode of Linchpin Conversations, as usual, brought to you by black coffee to help keep me awake. Every morning when my alarm goes off early, I do a quick scan of the day in my head, and I think to myself, where over the course of the day can I sneak in a nap? It's like the first thought that goes through my head. And then I identify some place that I think maybe I can squeeze in 30 minutes somewhere. And it never happens. So that will probably also be how it goes down today. Okay, got the questions called up. There's a fair amount of questions, cool questions, and I don't want to be too ambitious, but I think if I move at a nice pace, I think I can get through all of them, which would be really awesome. So with no further ado, we'll dive right in. Okay, these are the questions that all of you submitted from the private Facebook group for Linchpin, as well as the squads feature for Linchpin in the BTWB app. All right, most upvoted one from Jeff. If you were in charge of CrossFit, are there any changes you would make to better get the message out to the public that CrossFit is the key to health and fitness for everyone, not just super athletic beasts like what you see at the games? Yeah, I certainly have thoughts and ideas on that for sure, just having been around the community for so long. But the funny thing is, that question has been around. You could probably have asked that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, same thing. I got a feeling it'll probably still be around in 5 years from now. It's just one of those things as to what captures people's attention from a media standpoint, and then what all of us know is just normal. And I don't know if this will be the best analogy, right? People love watching the NFL, which is the biggest, baddest, absolute top level or elite, ferocious athletes playing a sport that maybe the rest of us could play, but they make us just look like uncoordinated children, right? With everything that they have, from their athleticism to their power to the whole 9 yards. But football's, anybody can play football, right? Anybody, right? But what is the coverage? The coverage is always the top tier crazy lunatics. And I guarantee if the NFL was on TV with two top level teams, and then there was just a rec league from your local town that was also on of regular humans playing that showed it was for everybody, nobody would watch the rec league unless you personally knew somebody playing. The friends and family of the rec league would watch the rec league. The overwhelming majority of the world would watch the top level crazy people play. And I don't think I don't know what it is about media, sports, people. I think that's not something that happens in CrossFit. I think it happens in darn near every pursuit in the world. And I guess it's our job, me, you, and everybody else, to share the message and let everybody know, hey, yeah, there are top tier crazy lunatics that are doing this, but don't let that cloud your judgment. Everybody can be doing this, from the crazy athletes to somebody who is brand new. So it's I get that. I bet that question will be around every year. Derek, this may have been asked in the past during game season, but if not, do you have an all-time favorite games event and why? I saw this question this morning as I clicked open my phone. I was sipping my coffee about 20 minutes ago just to see what everybody was asking. There's been so many games events that I'm sure that I'm forgetting one, and I don't know if this is an all-time favorite, but one that I would say is high on the list that I really liked was the Burden Run. And I remember it vaguely just decimating athletes, which I always enjoy. I remember my wife competed that year. I didn't, know her then, but she competed that year. And it's funny now hearing her recount the tale that she despised the Burden Run and it was miserable. So that's also probably why I like it as well. And the Burden Run was, I think it was in 2013. I looked up this morning to get the exact details for everybody. Starts off with a 2.1 mile run. That just puts a smile on my face because, especially back then, none of those games athletes wanted to run. So that warmed my heart. Then you had a 100-yard pig flip that heavy pig that weighed 490 pounds for the men, 310 for the women. Then a 600-yard log carry, just a miserable piece of wood, 100 pounds for the men, 70 for the women. Carry that 600 yards. It's a nice distance. And then end with a 66-yard drag of basically a sled that weighed 310 pounds for men, 220 pounds for women. So 2.1-mile run, 100-yard pig flip, 600-yard log carry, and then a drag at the end. So longer time domain, not a barbell in sight, made me really happy. Just a miserable, grueling event. So I would say that's probably pretty high up there. Let's see. There's an event that I would love to see at the games that I have not yet seen. And I'm not going to say what it is in case it does pop up or in case somebody asks me. And then if that one does come up, it will be my new favorite event, but it hasn't happened yet. All right, let's see. Could you explain more about the 1.5-mile run program? How many days a week and time durations? Thinking about adding it onto Linchpin wouldn't hurt to improve my runs, from Adam. So the 1.5-mile run program is the program that I've been talking about forever, that was in the works. I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag. And it's a 1.5-mile run specialty program that I created with Chris Hinshaw. You can find it if you go to variednotrandom.com. It lives there, and you can open up, you click on it, and it'll give you a whole bunch of information, specific detailed information about it that will be really helpful. But it's a great program. It took forever to get out because we poured our heart and souls into it. We're very proud of it. There's 6 sessions a week, 3 running and 3 strength and conditioning workouts, and it should be pretty darn cool. And it's a great distance because that 1.5-mile run, you have to develop both your speed and your stamina to develop that run, and that's a really nice thing that will translate over to your other areas of fitness. So it's very cool. So go to variednotrandom.com, Adam, check out click on that program, and I think you'll see a whole bunch of good stuff on there to help you kind of figure out what it's all about. But you could add that in. I think somebody asked a question about this later on. You could add that in to your regular Linchpin by doing the 3 running sessions each week, and then you could either choose those 3 strength and conditioning sessions because I programmed them, so that's certainly going to have a flavor that you'll recognize, or you could choose 3 Linchpin workouts that week and be totally good to go. Okay, let's see. Next one is from Dean. Let me expand this here. Do you review the questions and plan a response ahead of the Ask Me Anything Live, or do you simply freestyle? If the latter, that's very impressive. Can you share any tips or framework you use to think on the spot and articulate yourself so well? Appreciate that you are a subject matter expert. Thank you for the kind words. The overwhelming majority of the time, it's exactly what I just said. I get up this morning, pour myself a cup of coffee, and about 20 or 30 minutes ago, open my phone or laptop and say what's on everybody's minds, take a quick scan through just to get my mind percolating, if you will. But then I like to basically get up here and just talk real, off the cuff, so you get a real unfiltered response. It doesn't sound scripted and canned or whatnot. And that's how it happens the overwhelming majority of the time. Every now and then, if there is a question that maybe is, I certainly don't know everything in the world, that's for darn sure. And anyone who tells you they do, run away because they're lying to you. If there is something that I'm like, I'm not super comfortable with that topic, or that's a bit outside my area of expertise, I might table that one and say, hey, we'll circle back to this one. I got to do a bit more digging on that or something. But most of the time, it's just right off the cuff because I feel that's the most authentic way to answer them, as a matter of fact. And let's see, tips or framework you use to think on the spot and articulate yourself. I honestly think it's just reps, in all honesty. So, I've been doing this whole fitness, strength and conditioning, CrossFit stuff for a really, really long time, from 2005. And then, it was my occupation for many years to lecture on these topics to a live audience and dive into all the little nuanced points of all the methodology and try to answer the tough questions and help people understand it and find new ways to get the message into people's heads, regardless of where in the world I was speaking to people. And then all the, on camera stuff, that's that's just communicating messages to a whole another level as well. So just all that different stuff just kind of adds up to hopefully allowing me to get the message to everybody in a way that it lands well. That's really it. So let's see. And next one, Daniel G. Let's see. The conversation from a few VNRs, Very Not Random, which is the podcast I do with Adrian Bosman. The conversation from a few VNRs back on training a few days for longer sessions or more days but shorter sessions got me thinking. Given the option to either do the full workout or a scaled/shortened version of the workout plus the accessory, which would you choose and why? For example, yesterday's running, lunge, double under V-up workout, I knew it would be close to my time limit if I did the full workout prescribed. So I decided to do half of the wildcard option along with the accessory work. For me, it seemed more valuable to get a taste of the workout but also get in some speed and strength work. Curious to hear your thoughts. Okay, so I think in general you answered your own question, but we'll dive into it. And I know people probably hate it when I say this, but here's the deal. Either one's fine because you're moving your body, you're doing functional movements, you're following the scope of the program, you're following the intended stimulus, you're winning. So that's important to realize. Neither one's wrong. You're absolutely winning. If I had to speak to the broadest audience possible, then I would say the overwhelming majority of the time, if you can do the workout and go home, do the workout and go home. Don't worry about the accessory work. That's my short, sweet, simple, canned answer. And that's why the accessory work is truly optional. Truly is optional. If it was mandatory, I'd have a very different answer. Now, why I think you might have made the right question for you, or why it is a bit individual, is, you said for you, based upon your schedule that day, the time that you had allotted, and maybe some areas that you need to improve upon, you felt it made more sense to do half the wild card and then touch that accessory work, because maybe that accessory work for you specifically and where you are in your fitness journey was really some areas that you truly and honestly have identified as points that would really be beneficial to you if you improve them a bit. And maybe somebody else is struggling with their pull-ups, and the accessory work that day has some upper body pulling, and they're like, this would be a great day for me to make sure I get in that optional accessory work. Somebody else, it's the midline. There's some midline component there. Like, yeah, I need to do that midline. For somebody else, there's some short sprints happening. You're like, sprinting's a big weakness. I'm going to make sure I hit that. So from what you said, allotting your time that day and probably knowing yourself better than anybody else, it sounds like you made a good decision. My broad answer to most people most of the time, choosing the right workout option that day, whether it's prescribed, wildcard, scaled, limited equipment, or you make a slight tweak or modification to that to fit you, and you pour your heart and soul into that and go home. That's my answer for most people most of the time, but I think you did well. Okay, let's see. Justin R. Given your experience with CrossFit media at the games in the past, can you share any insight to what it takes to do a live feed? Specifically, if there were a few cameras to cover the age groups and adaptive athletes better than a static cam that seems to be quite far away. I'm disappointed in CrossFit's coverage of the age group and adaptive athletes during the games. In my opinion, coverage of these athletes could have huge returns for local boxes and inspire more people to take their health into their own hands. Okay. The short, sweet, simple answer is, it's, and I can't speak to exactly what this was, but it's money and budget. That's really it. So I don't know what the CrossFit organization had for funds available, and then, what their budget was to hire a media company to come and put on the media. And so whatever that allocation of funds was, they're going to work it out with whatever media team they hired to come in and shoot video, film the games, and that budget's going to have to be allocated between however many heats and different divisions and different days and different cameras cost different amounts of money, from spider cam overhead to a static cam to people roaming the field to whatever it happens to be. And then you've got several huge 18-wheeler trucks that are on site with tons of people in there flipping switches and cutting cameras and directors, and some parts are live and you're cutting to a reporter down. I mean, it's a huge endeavor. First of all, I can just tell you that. A huge endeavor to cover an event like this. And the degree of coverage for any particular event or day, it just depends upon the, money talks. It just depends upon the allocation and resources that were devoted to that particular day, or the entire scope of the budget and how they had to chop it up. So, beats me what that pool of money was that they had to chop up to the to coverage, and then they had to make decisions on site as to what would get the most bang for that buck. But that's what it is. But it is a huge production, and a complicated production to cover an event like that. Dooley R. I got the 1.5 mile run program. Can't wait to start. 2 questions. Recommend 6 days a week, so not getting 2 rest days. Is this okay? So yeah, for the run program, it's 6 days a week, 3 strength and conditioning workouts and 3 runs. And number 2, the programmed lifting/workout days, are the ones in the program specific for advancing in the program, or could I do the linchpin workouts, fill them in, and would that be good to go? So 2 questions. Okay. So number 1, yep, it's 6 days a week. So you got to listen to your body, right? Because you're not going to be able to go hard 6 days a week. So there should be modulating intensity in there as well, for sure. So if you need to take an extra rest day to feel good, by all means, take an extra rest day to feel good. And you can plan this to your calendar as you want to plan it out. So again, if you need to slip something in there to give yourself a little bit of rest, great. Take it easy on one day, great. Take it easy on one of the strength and conditioning workouts. Make it more like an active recovery day, because while there are 3 running workouts per week and 3 strength and conditioning sessions, one of those strength and conditioning workouts is more of a, I hate to use the term active rest day, but it's not supposed to be a burner. You're moving your body, but it shouldn't be as taxing and demanding because it is 6 days a week. So you can either use those strength and conditioning sessions that are part of the 1.5 mile run, or you could do exactly what you're saying. You could look at the linchpin workouts this week, look at the 5 workouts that we have scheduled, choose the 3 that fit the best and do those, and you would be just fine. I program the linchpin workouts, and I program the workouts in the very not random 1.5 mile run. So you're going to be familiar with the flavor of workouts. And same deal, there's always going to be a heavy day once a week. Look at the nature of that heavy day. What is it? Is it a pull from the ground? Is it below parallel? Is it a power lift? Is it a limbo lift? Whatever it happens to be. Look at the other couple of days, and I'm sure you could find workouts that we're going to do this week that match pretty darn close, and you could swap those in and stay right along with everybody else. I think you'd be totally good to go. Okay, making good time here. My little girl's stirring, but she's going to give us some more time, so that's very nice of her. All right, in the BTWB squads, from Lisa M. I'm new to Linchpin and just wanted to say thanks for all you do. My pleasure. Welcome aboard. Okay, let's see. Thompson F. I'm a faculty member at a university. I've been following Linchpin using our student center. Our campus has 2 really great facilities with cross-training equipment at both. Are there any initiatives to get Linchpin programming scaled to college campuses? Sounds like a great recruitment and training ground for the methodology. Interesting question. I'm not sure how we can make that work. There potentially is something. If you've got ideas, I'm curious to chat. So Thompson, if you see this, just shoot me an email at info@crossfitlinchpin.com and let's see if we can put our heads together. Okay. From Alexander W. Recently, a friend of mine attended a gymnastics seminar, which I think was affiliated with CrossFit. One of the things talked about was there was proper form and mechanics for bodyweight movements like push-ups and pull-ups. From what he said, I've gathered that I've been quote-unquote doing it wrong with these movements. How important is it to try to develop that quote-unquote picture-perfect form with such movements? For your information, I'm 38 and I'm definitely just working out to stay fit. Quick example. Sometimes I won't hook my thumbs around the pull-up bar for strict pull-ups. But this is apparently not ideal, as you don't recruit the muscles of the forearms fully. I thought you or Emily might have some insights here. Sorry for the long question. No need to apologize for the long question. So, yes, I've been to a gymnastics seminar myself, and I'm obviously married to a former D1 gymnast, and so I'm well aware of how not beautiful my gymnastics movements are. So here's the deal. Perfection. Perfect is the enemy of the good, right? Should you be striving to always improve the quality of your movement? Absolutely. 100%. Is there a right way to do a push-up, a pull-up, a muscle-up, an ideal way, beautiful form, proper technique that not only ideally keeps you safe, but also is maximal with regards to efficiency? Absolutely. Same thing goes for back squat, a deadlift, running technique, jump rope, the whole 9 yards. So body weight, conditioning, and strength. So yeah, I mean, no matter what you're doing, no matter what the movement is, you should always be trying to do it as close to perfect as possible. But here's the deal. I've seen a lot of people move, thousands and thousands and thousands of people move, okay? Nobody moves perfect. What you want to try to do, again, is just move well and always be trying to improve the quality of your movement. But realize that if you waited until you moved perfect, none of us would ever work out. It's just, it is what it is. And with regards to, so for example, my power clean that I've been doing for many, many years is not perfect. I'm sure it's not perfect because no one's perfect and no one moves perfect. And if I had a world-class Olympic lifter walk into my garage and watch me power clean, they would give me a bunch of tips to improve it, without a doubt. But what I also need to remember is that while those tips would be helpful and I would try my absolute best to apply them, and I really mean that, my power clean does not need to be perfect to get me fit. It needs to be safe, it needs to be functional, and it needs to be good enough. Now, what does good enough mean? Okay, that's tough to articulate. It just depends upon is the error, quote unquote, error that I'm making, is it a safety issue or is it a bit inefficient? So, is my back horrifically rounded when my midline's all totally loosey-goosey with no tension when I do my power clean? Okay, I'll stop, hold what you got, let's correct that. Does that happen as I get fatigued in the workout? Stop, slow down, lower the weight. That's not cool. That's not an area that we want to go into. As I start to get fatigued in the workout, does my form degrade, meaning not that safety issue, but you know what? When I start to get tired, I start to pull a little bit early with my arms. Got a little bit of an early arm pull. Okay. Yes, I understand that if you pull early with your arms with like a maximum loading, there's like this minute percentage that you could tear your bicep. Like, I understand that. From seeing thousands and thousands and thousands of people do power cleans, I don't have an issue of thinking that actually is going to happen to most people. That's a terrible, just rare freak injury. So I get a little bit fatigued in my workout. I start to pull a little bit early with my arms. I got 135 in the bar. I'm doing a 2159 sort of a workout. It's not a safety issue. I'm just now moving inefficiently. I'm making the power clean a little bit harder than it should be because I have a quarter extremity violation. And so I'd play that same game with conditioning, that same game with body weight movements. Like, are we talking about something which is you're just making the workout a little bit harder for yourself because you're moving inefficient? Or are we dabbling now in the realm of a potential safety issue? And so it just depends upon which one it is, address it appropriately, and try to move forward and make good decisions. The wrapping the thumb around the pull-up bar, and I've certainly heard that as well, and I'll tell you that most of the time now, yes, I've gotten used to wrapping my thumbs around the bar when I do pull-ups, but I will tell you that in the military for many years and thousands of pull-ups, because I'm here to tell you, the SEAL teams love strict pull-ups. I couldn't even tell you how many strict pull-ups I did during my time there. And none of them were done with my thumb wrapped around the bar. Not a single solitary one. And everybody that I know was doing well over 20 strict pull-ups. And apparently they were doing that, not recruiting all the muscles in their forearms. Everybody was just fine. They were monsters at pull-ups. There was no injuries, and life went on. So while I think that what they're saying is true, I also have to filter that through my eyes, what my eyes have seen over decades and decades, and just give it a little bit of a sanity check as to, okay, maybe do you recruit more muscles when you wrap your thumbs around the bar? Probably true. Have I seen hundreds and thousands of people not wrap their thumbs and be perfectly fine? Yep, I have. And somehow those two things are living at the same time. Now, what you also would hear is, again, potentially a safety issue is if you're not wrapping your thumbs around the bar and you're doing some violent kipping pull-ups and you don't know yourself too well and your grip starts to slide a little bit, that you could be running the risk of sliding off of that pull-up bar on one of those kips, landing on your back on the ground, and that's no good in any way, shape, or form. So having your thumbs wrapped around the bar is probably a really good thing for the overwhelming majority of people to do. I would go ahead and agree with that for sure. But yes, and again, my wife being a D1 gymnast, when she gets in the bar and does any particular movement, you can tell that she's better than me. It is what it is. Let's see. Justin H. I see somebody hooked you up here. I'm new to Linchpin, thinking about rest days. So Justin, yep. Every Monday in the private track, there's that new to CrossFit Linchpin. Watch this first, or watch that video. But yes, the typical schedule that we follow is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are workout days. Friday, Saturday are workout days. So every week there's 2 scheduled rest days, Thursdays and Sundays. Final group of questions here. Let's see. Okay. Jacob T. Just joined the program, did my first workout today. Very cool. Welcome, Jacob. For multi-sport athletes, do you believe there is an ideal cadence within your program to target? For example, make sure you get Mondays and Wednesdays or something like that. I try to work out 2 to 3 times a week and mountain bike 2 to 3 days as well. Yes, this question has been covered before, and I wish I could remember the exact Linchpin Conversations episode number, but it was basically if you could only work out 3 days a week, and what would those be? So here's my general guidance, okay? And you might have to massage it a bit to fit your lifestyle. But for 3 workouts a week, do the heavy day. There's usually 1 classic heavy day programmed during those 5 workouts a week. And there could also be a heavy day at a high heart rate snuck in there as well. But make sure you get in, if you're going to only work out 3 times a week, get in the heavy day. And then you've got 2 workout days left. What I would recommend is, if you have the lens available in your head to look at the workouts and see what do we have going on, like are we pulling from the ground, are we going below parallel, to make sure that the 2 other workouts that you choose are not profoundly similar. Make sure that you try to cover those basic human movement patterns, below parallel, pulling from the ground, going overhead, pushing, gymnastics, the whole 9 yards. I would choose 1 workout, so 1 heavy day, then the other 2 workouts. Choose one that just puts a huge smile on your face. You love the movements, you love the loading, you love the rep range, you love the time domain. It's going to be easy to get into the gym because it just makes you so happy. And then the other workout, I don't want to say choose one that you hate because that's a bit strong or extreme. But if you have the discipline, choose one that when you look at it, you're like, ooh, that's outside my comfort zone. That's something that I don't necessarily want to do, but if I'm really honest with myself, that's what I need to do and what I should do, because those are some areas of deficiencies, some things that I'm not really great at, and there'd be a lot of meat on the bone there for me to improve as an athlete. Choose that workout as well. So that would be my recommendation. So that's it. We covered it. We made it happen. My little girl got up for like 2 minutes and fell back asleep. So life's great. I still got a little bit of coffee and the day's off to a good start. So enjoy your rest day, everybody, and we'll talk later.